So you're thinking about making the move to down south. Well, everything's different in the South. You know, things move a little bit slower. And there's a lot of opportunities when you talk about moving down to the South, especially for our beautiful beaches. You have North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. But maybe you've already ruled out South Carolina and Georgia. Maybe it's just between North Carolina and Florida. Well, this video is for you. I'm going to talk about all the differences, compare and contrast North Carolina to Florida, tell you all the reasons why you should choose either one, and help you make a final decision. So let's get started. Let's start with the cost of living. Florida is a mixed bag. It has no state income tax, which can be real attractive to some people, and it's a big win. But housing in hot spots like Miami, Naples, and Tampa can be very, very pricey. You're not going to find as much of that in North Carolina. In North Carolina, we do have a state income tax at 4.75, but housing is significantly more affordable in many areas. Cities like Wilmington, where I am, Raleigh, or Asheville offer a better price per square foot compared to many of Florida cities. So that's just something to think about before you decide to make that move. I meet people all the time that thought that they wanted to retire in Florida. They decided they were going to move down there. They bought the house and they just got, just tired of all the fees. There was HOA fees, resort fees, community fees, all these kind of things. So while they don't have the state income tax, it feels like they make up for a lot of that in terms of other types of fees. And at some point, the people I've talked to, they just felt like they were getting priced out of Florida. And even though they were, well-heeled individuals, it just didn't make sense for them to keep living down there. They wanted to look at other opportunities. North Carolina came on the map. They began looking around here and they realized that North Carolina was probably going to be the best bet for them. Another thing to consider when you're comparing North Carolina and Florida is our climate. Florida is known year-round for being warm, hot, humid, and of course, hurricanes. It's hot, it's wet, and that's most of the year. And that's wonderful if you like that type environment. If you want to be at the beach or you want to be, in the Everglades or wherever it's going to be, Florida's for you. But North Carolina, we have 4 seasons. Now, I know. Depending on where you are, we have 4 seasons. Here on the East Coast of North Carolina, we have a mild winter. We have a nice spring, especially this year. It's been good. We have a very warm summer. It can get quite humid, especially in July and August. And then, but in September, October, we do have a fall. But it's not the fall that you get like you get in the Piedmont of North Carolina. So if you go up to Raleigh, Chapel Hill in September or October, you're going to see leaves changing for a month. You're going to see all the colors. If you go to the mountains of North Carolina, you're going to see what looks like a rainbow, and it's going to be really beautiful, and especially October. But on the East Coast, you're not going to get as much of that. And then, of course, in the winter, like I said, it's going to be mild. So that's one thing that people really love about North Carolina is that we do have so many varying temperatures. Even though if you're on the East Coast, we might get snow once a year, once every 2 years, once every 3 years, and even then it's going to be an inch or two. I think this year in 2025 we got maybe 2 inches. I mean, it was enough to slide down, but it was a good time. So anyway, another point to consider when you're looking at Florida versus North Carolina is natural disasters and insurance. Florida homeowners face sky-high insurance rates because of the hurricanes and the flood risk. Unless you're a stranger to the United States, you know that hurricanes tend to come up the East Coast, and a lot of times they go to Florida or they skirt the coast. Florida, but Florida is one of the first spots to potentially get hit by the hurricanes. But then again, North Carolina, especially here on the East Coast, as it moves up the coast, you'll see it skirt our coast, and sometimes it lands directly in Wilmington or the Outer Banks. So we are not, immune to it either, but I don't know if we get them as bad as Florida does. It definitely feels like Florida gets way more hurricanes than we do, especially being that sometimes they come up from the Gulf. So something to consider, and that's probably a tie if we're keeping score there. Florida has no income tax, which makes it a haven for retirees and business owners. Social Security and retirement income is not taxed. That's a real big deal if you're looking to retire in a place. North Carolina does have taxes. We have income taxes, and we have property taxes and sales tax, but those are usually lower than Florida, which is a really nice point of view. It might balance out depending on your situation, but of course it's all relative when you're dealing with numbers, and that's something that you're going to want to look at before you decide to make either of them a home. For retirees, Florida still feels like a favorite, but North Carolina is really rising fast. I mean, and it's not just on the eastern the eastern side of North Carolina. We also see that in the mountains, we see that in the Piedmont, and we see that people want to be closer to family and friends up north than they necessarily want to be if they go all the way to Florida and having to either find flights or have connecting flights and all those kind of things. So that's definitely something to think about considering North Carolina. Now I'm in Wilmington, and Wilmington we have an international airport, and it goes out of and it has a lot of connecting flights, and we keep adding on to our little international airport, so we have connecting flights to go everywhere, and that's really becoming attractive to people that want to live in Wilmington, because you don't have to go to Raleigh like you used to, or Charlotte or Myrtle Beach. You can just leave your front door, get an Uber to our international airport, and take maybe one connecting flight, although we do have a lot of direct flights. The website for our airline is flyilm.org or flyilm.com. I can't remember, but just Google it, flyilm. If you're looking to raise a family, North Carolina generally wins on public education rankings. Chapel Hill, Carrboro, Wake County, and Charlotte, Mecklenburg school systems are nationally recognized. Those are really nice areas to be if you decide that you want to have some of the best education that North Carolina has to offer. Florida does have strong pockets, especially in places like St. Johns County, but there's more variability statewide. If you like things like hiking, community-focused living, strong schools, North Carolina suburbs may just be the perfect match for you. But if you prefer amusement parks, sunshine, then Florida is where it's at. So, although I do want to make one caveat, I've taken a number of cruises out of Florida. I flew from Wilmington, North Carolina to Miami. I've also flown to Fort Lauderdale. We have direct flights to both, and you can get on your cruise ship, have a good time, come back home. So it feels like you get the best of both worlds if you're asking me. Now, Florida's economy is very tourist heavy. Hospitality, healthcare, construction, those are just a few of the key sectors that Florida has to offer. It's booming, but it's seasonal, and it's very service heavy in parts. North Carolina, on the other hand, we have more tech-forward economy with anchors like the Research Triangle. We have banking in Charlotte. That's one of the financial capitals of the world. And we have a growing film and medical industry, especially here in Wilmington, where we've filmed lots of great movies, television shows, things that you've heard, all over the news. That's Wilmington. We are known as Hollywood of the East. And by the way, if you're looking to move to Wilmington or even considering it, please contact us below. I'll be more than happy to help you find your next home in our area. We know all the areas in Wilmington, the neighborhoods, coastal areas, inland areas, and we can help you begin your home search, find your next home, and invest in property here in our local area. Now, let's talk about another issue when it comes to Florida versus North Carolina. In Florida, you've got world-class beaches, you've got boating, year-round outdoor fun, but it's flat, and that can feel very limiting to people, especially if you like to hike or you just like some variance in your altitude. North Carolina, we have beaches, but we also have mountains. I go a few times a year to the mountains of North Carolina, either 5 or 6 hours away. You just get on Interstate 40 and go, and you're there. I might leave at 6 or 7 in the morning with the kids, be there by noon, grab lunch, go for a hike, You know, it's just a really cool thing about North Carolina is that we have so much variance when it comes to our terrain. You can surf in the morning. I had a friend that loves to surf, and he told me one morning I went surfing, and then I got in the car, and that afternoon I was hiking. And that's exactly what you can love about North Carolina. It just has so much to offer in that respect. Now, whenever we talk about things like culture, politics, and community, Florida leans diverse and transient. You know, people come from all over the place to be in Florida. That makes it very vibrant, but sometimes whenever you have too much diversity in a way, in that regard, it can lack a sense of community, and so it might make it harder to have those local ties whenever you always have people coming in from all these different places. In North Carolina, especially in smaller towns like where we are in Wilmington, we have more of a Southern hospitality vibe. You know, whenever you think of the Southern hospitality, you can think of Wilmington, you can think of North Carolina. And it's a slower pace in a number of ways, and it can feel very much at home, you know, sweet tea, good Southern cooking. That's what North Carolina really has become known as. If you like to watch the Andy Griffith Show, you know, I'm kind of telling my age now, but the Andy Griffith Show took place in a fictional place, but it was based off of Mount Airy, North Carolina. So, something to consider. Let's talk about accessibility and travel. If you need to travel, Florida has some major airports. You have Orlando, Miami, Tampa, etc. And it's closer to the Caribbean if you love cruising. However, with that being said, like I said, I've flown from Wilmington to Charlotte, and then gone to the Dominican. I've gone from Wilmington directly to Fort Lauderdale, directly to Miami, and it was just an easy flight, and it was affordable. So it's becoming much easier, you know, as the world continues to develop and things, to be able to get to these different places and enjoy different opportunities that used to be much more cumbersome. And I have to say, if we're talking about accessibility, I feel like we're kind of tied, because our airports have just made it so simple to get to Florida to enjoy all the good things. I have friends that go to Disney World all the time in Florida. Love to take the kids, though a lot of them drive. But if it were me, I would fly. But that's just me. Anyway, who should you choose? If you're looking at Florida, you probably just hate any idea of cold, and you don't want any income tax. You love palm trees, beach towns. You're okay with incredibly diverse communities, snowbirds. You thrive in a fast-paced, touristy culture. But if you're looking at North Carolina, you're going to want variety in your landscape, in your seasons, in nature, your altitude. You might prefer a balance between city life and just kind of slowing down, enjoying your community, and kind of getting in the zone a little bit more when it comes to neighborhoods and raising a family and things. I mean, and I know those are kind of broad strokes, but my point is, it's just a different vibe. You know, like if you're going to Florida, you are probably wanting to retire and not necessarily putting down roots. You're just trying to kind of escape the world that you've kind of grown up to know in a way, and just want to enjoy being on the coast and all those good things. North Carolina, you're going to have a little bit more of that Southern hospitality, I feel like. So I guess the question is, are you raising a family, or are you looking for, just to retire, And even with that said, here in Wilmington, we have a number of retirement communities that are around Wilmington and our surrounding areas that have lots of resort-style amenities, country clubs, golf, anything you can think of. And if that's something you're interested in, contact us below, and we can connect you with all the local developments, the local master plan communities that help you have a lot of the lifestyle that a lot of people want in Florida, you can find here in Wilmington and surrounding areas. So what's it going to be for you? I'd love to hear you comment below. Let me know what you think. I'd love to know if you've tried North Carolina and you decided to go to Florida, or vice versa, or if you're still trying to decide. And if it's something that you think you're still trying to figure out, please like and subscribe, and so then you'll get updates on our new videos as they come out, and you can learn everything that Wilmington and our surrounding area has to offer. Until next time, I'm Kevin with Living in Wilmington. Thanks for watching. See you soon.